So in the last instalment you've seen me replace that old worn out suspension with new UJs, bearings and bushes, but unfortunately whilst waiting for new ones to be made I had to refit those old worn out shock absorbers. Then after replacing the front seats along with a new headliner, on a trip to the Lotus factory in Hethel in Norfolk, the car received a special Concours prize from the celebrated Lotus team members responsible for the car's design and release back in the day. And then it was back to P&M to push out those old bushes on those lower arms and replace with new. And then it was back to the ranch to finish what had already started. So at last, those beautiful new shocks had just landed, aptly named Gaz, I might add. So as always, let's get stuck in. Ever get that deja vu feeling you've been here before? Now you'll notice I'm not using spring compressors on these rear springs because the old springs have been superseded by ones that are just slightly shorter, so you can literally just pull them out. But remember, when removing the old type, these need spring compressors on them because they are slightly longer. Let's take a look at this shock, eh? The state of that. I think there's much life in that, do you? Compare it to the new one. Look at that. Nice new stove enamelled. Nice new bearing. That should do the trick. That's dead. See what it's like with the spring on. There you go, look at that. Now, it's really disheartening sometimes because I've done jobs like this before and you drive the car and you think it's going to make a huge difference, but it doesn't. There's hardly any difference at all and it's really disheartening, but I think in this case, looking at the state of that, 4 brand new shocks with the brand new springs, and it's going to make a huge difference to the ride and it'll feel like it was designed to feel when it was first brand new and off the production line. Yeah. Right, let's crack on. Bit of primer to begin with. I know, this should be upright, but whatever. Right, before we go any further, let's sort out this 50 years of mud, shall we? One down, 3 more to go. Oof. Well, you can see where this one's been leaking. So that's dead. And then this one gets the Ryobi treatment. And when they're all nice and dry, sealed up with the trusty HB Body 950. That'll do. Come on, what a difference. So with that done, it's off to see my mate Paul and catch up on the progress of that new back seat.
Go on, Gary. Do you want to go that side? What do you think?
Wow.
The reason I wanted you to come, because it's all collapsed, your other stuff, I wanted to make sure that the gaps, you know, fitted properly.
But they're perfect, aren't they?
Yeah, they fit in really nice. But if it was a bit too tight,
They would have puffed up, yeah.
They'd have puffed up and I'd have had to push it.
Do you know what, Paul?
Just adjust up.
It looks like brand new.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it, isn't it? Just completes the job, doesn't it? The headline and the front seats.
The headlining, almost spot on with seat material, you know what I mean?
But you were saying, weren't you, when you took the seats apart, you said that colour was bang on. But
it was a bit
gone
light.
Darker over the years.
It was a bit light. It's not exact.
Yeah.
I did actually try and get the original stuff, but nobody had it.
Yeah.
So I got this, which was the closest I could.
But it's thereabouts. It looks bob on to me. Yeah.
But when you do bolt it in properly, because like I've only placed them in now, because like
yeah.
You stripped them, like you took them out. When you do bolt everything in, see these lines and them lines.
Try and get them straight.
Just make sure that line is the same as that line type of thing. You know, you might just have to put a little bit of padding under here, and you know, just tweak them about.
I'm looking at them now, Paul, and they're pretty much bob on them.
Yeah. But when you do bolt and put your screws in here and screws there, it might just want a little tweaking. And I hate stuff like that, me. You know, like when lines are miles out. Yeah. Obviously, sometimes
because you're ADHD, innit?
Just try and get them as that distance from there to there, as similar to that one to there to there. You know what I mean?
I know you're moaning because you've put the seatbelt cutouts in there.
Yeah.
And then you realise it didn't have seatbelts in the car, but I'm going to put them in, so you've done the right thing there.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Plus, that's how it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So that's exactly how it was. I've made them off the original patterns, you know what I mean?
You know what I hate about the old material? I mean, it looks exactly the same to me, but the old material was thinner than this and breaks up and goes all brown and turns into powder. And I just think they look a bit more plump. So there's less chance of them going baggy over the years, I think.
Yeah.
More substantial.
This will last it out now, this.
Yeah.
Should do, anyway.
Oh, it'll outlast me. Nice one, Paul. Top job. Little bits. Right, let's go and do the damage.
I've got some material upstairs, you know what, a little bit that's left, like, just in case you do need it for anything. So I'll just go and get it here in a minute.
Excellent. Right, let's go and do the damage.
Okay, I got it.
Made up, Paul. Throw to bits. And now this is where the real work begins, as we move on to that awkward front suspension. And a handy bit of string, just to keep that hub suspended upwards, just so the brake flexi hose doesn't get damaged with the weight when I remove these bolts. Scary. Well, that seems to have done its job. And now I'm going to use this brand new spring compressor I bought from Machine Mart. I know it was meant for springs that have a top hat, but I think if I use this as well as the small spring compressors, it'll just give me that little extra bit of protection. Now you can see I'm extending the shock absorber just to give me a guide of how much you need to compress the spring so I can fasten it at the top. Oh, what's the bollocks, Gary? Now, washer needs to go either side of the lower shock absorber mount. Now, these are a bit of a mare to fit, so I just cover them in grease and place them in position, and it just makes everything a lot easier. Now this looks like it's been under the sea for 50 years or so. So as always, I just clean as I go along. And of course, make sure the bush is intact and good, which it normally is on these. Otherwise, replace as needed. And back on it goes. And then eventually we're on to the last. Now this one for some reason just didn't want to budge. So after a Steven Gerrard free kick, out it comes. Voila. Now this lower arm's seen better days. I mean, look at the hole in that. And these anti-roll bar bushes, well, they're practically non-existent. So the whole lot's going to have to come off and be rebuilt. Oof. Now it's really important that this tapered washer goes here so it doesn't foul the anti-roll bar. And then the flat washer goes here before the nut. And then the bar fits through here from the front. And after a little lick of paint, on it goes.
Now this is the basic setup of the low pivot boat. You have these top hats either side, and the sleeve goes through the middle of the lower arm. And this thin rubber seal which goes around the rim of the top hat before you put it together. You'll see when I set it up. Now because the old sleeve is actually seized in position, I'm going to have to remove the entire hub because I just can't get purchase on it and just find a way of knocking it through. So crack the ball joint, undo the brake line, and off it comes. Now this turned out to be a slippery little sucker. So to get the sleeve out, I had to first lock it up in the vise. I cut a bar to the right length, slid it underneath and simply knocked it through. Not the usual way of doing things, but look, it worked for me. Now I've decided to grease this up in situ because the seal's good, so I don't have to take the whole thing apart. I pumped the fresh grease in, you see the old crap coming out, and then when it comes through clear, you're good to go. Just saves a lot of messing once it's on the car. And then you start putting this together. There's your seal. Slide it in. And do the other side. There you go. Now this bit's really fiddly, so what I've done, I've packed the ends with grease so the end caps just stick on and it's easier to fit. Then when everything's placed in, simply remove your spring compressors. Then it's off with the roll bar to start the rebuild on that. And when it's all clean and painted up, it's on with that tapered washer so it doesn't catch and snag on the anti-roll bar. Then on with the sleeve, on with the bush. And if we can just show you the configuration, this is how it goes when it's on the car. The bar goes through the wall of the lower arm, and these are obviously your two bushes, and that's where the steel goes, and either side you've got these, and then you finish off with a nut or a lock and nut, whichever. So place the bar in, support it on the wheel. Just push those bushes in. I use a block to drive it so it's tight through so it can get purchased with the nut. And it's just a little quarter turn at a time. You'll get there eventually. You know, it probably would have been easier doing it with both arms off the car and then putting it all in one piece, but whatever. And when that's done, I then gun the centre rubbers up into the chassis. Reconnect these, make sure everything's torqued up, and we're done. Job's a good one. All in all, a bit of a fiddly, tricky job. Nevertheless, a job that shouldn't be overlooked to ensure a safe and comfortable ride. And I now feel good that I've done it. So along with its new interior, it's now ready for its trip to the NEC Classic Motor Show in Birmingham.
Well, it looks well on the stand. Yeah, the interior looks fantastic. I feel really honoured, really proud. I think it's a lovely car, and like I've always said, I think it's also testament to Tom for his due diligence over the years, and I'm sure he'd be very proud if he could see it now. Yeah, looks well.
And if you're thinking of coming down to the NEC, maybe pop over to the Footman James stand, check out the 928 GT and grab a coffee with me.
Thank you for watching this episode of Classic Obsession. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe. And see you all next time.